So is AG1 actually healthy?
Athletic Greens.
Athletic Greens.
Athletic Greens.
Athletic Green.
That's the question that I'm trying to answer.
The most comprehensive and convenient nutritional regimen on the planet.
Everyone and their mom seems to be promoting it, including the people I look up to most online. And I genuinely believe that even though there's a financial incentive, that they are in full integrity because they believe in it, and in most cases, they probably take it every single day. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but every time I would bring it up to someone whose opinion I really respect when it comes to health and nutrition, they would have different things to say about it. So I decided to sit down with 3 of them and get to the bottom of it, because I think we all want to believe that for $100 a month, we can completely even out our nutritional deficiencies. I'm going into this with a completely open mind because I want Athletic Greens to be great. I really do. I can't imagine how much work they've put into building this product, refining it, doing the research, making it better, and getting it out to as many people as possible. I don't even mind how much it costs. AG1 is a business, and a business has to make money, and I have absolutely no problems with that. I also believe that they are genuinely trying to help people have better nutrition. But is it as effective as they say? And is it actually as good as people think? And are there any other consequences that we need to know about? What do you think about like the proprietary blend in Athletic Greens?
The problem with proprietary blends in general is that we have no idea the quantity of the actual ingredient that they're putting into the formula. And the problem with greens specifically is that even when they say like there's blueberry broccoli, there's kale in it, and you think, oh, these are all such great things, it's all in various amounts that you have no idea how much it is, and you don't know the absorption of that, you don't know how much is flowing through your bloodstream, you don't even know if that's good for you. But if you take something just like blueberries, strip it of all of its fiber content, the fiber is where all of like a lot of the polyphenols and antioxidants are found, what are we left with? We don't know. But you put blueberry on it and people are like, oh, it's healthy.
When you have such a wide range of perceivably great things, it's absolutely possible that someone could have negative reactions to several of the compounds, but positive reactions perceivably to others. So like my biggest issue is probably the lack of tailoring as much as anything.
From what I've discerned, it seems unclear if these nutrients can actually absorb, and if they can, is there enough of those raw material to actually produce a health outcome to back up the claims? But my friend Jeff had a really interesting perspective. So do you take this every day?
I do.
And do you like it?
I do. The taste is good. I want to be able to perform at my best, cognitively and physically. In my opinion, the best way to test if something works is, can I eat this and then go perform? There's been a handful of times where I have tried certain foods and then I go try and run 10 miles and I'm like, that did not sit well, that didn't digest well, those things don't stay. I can't take opinion and conjecture and science over my personal experience. Ever. Wait 20 minutes, new science will come out. But that's where we are these days. It's like, oh, here's the latest and greatest. Awesome, talk to me in 2 months.
I'm gonna give this a go for the next 7 days, and I'm gonna withhold all biases to the best of my ability and just be as unattached to the result and how I feel. All right, I'm sitting here editing the video and I'm just noticing, I just had my Athletic Greens, that I do feel a little bit more alert. I was feeling a little sluggish, feeling a little tired. I'd been working for the majority of the morning. Now I'm just paying attention to how I feel. I'm like, oh, I am a little bit more sharp. I do feel a little bit more focused, I guess. So what do you think about the probiotics and the gut health side of this?
The 2 strains that they have are Lactobacillus acidophilus UALA01 or LA1 and Bifidobacterium UABB10. With the Bifidobacterium strain, there was only 1 study that was ever done in 2019, and all the participants were women. They were either healthy or overweight, and they had functional constipation. Basically, by the end of the 30-day study, there were no significant differences in stool frequency or consistency between the 2 groups, placebo or the probiotic group. And then the other one, the LA1, there was only 1 study done back in 1994, and it was in
in a test tube. It found that, it could potentially help with the inhibition of cell invasion by E. coli, which is obviously way more scientific than we need, but essentially we just don't really know. On top of all of that, we really don't know whether or not it would make it to the gut, because with probiotics, they have to make through not only your stomach, but also the bile. So unless it's going to be stable against hydrochloric acid in your stomach as well as the bile, it's not going to make it to the gut.
And there's only these 2 studies. There's no other studies that you could find.
Could not find any. And I scoured PubMed.
The acidophilus oftentimes can make those with small intestinal bacterial overgrowth actually worse and can cause more diarrhea in that population. Now, they also have 2 of the fibers. Inulin, research-wise, it's great, but the digestive horror you will get after ingesting this in larger amounts. Who knows how much inulin is in there, which by the way is very cheap, so they could be using it as a filler to bulk up the amount of the scoop. That inulin might be what's causing the gastrointestinal distress.
There's really good science now to show that some probiotics make the landscape much worse short term. Distinguishing microbiome with, short-chain fatty acids and all these things, butyrate therapies that we know to be way more effective, seems like a more sensible idea than just throwing in random strains that perceivably have got these benefits, but not at amounts that they've got in their products or formulas.
I'll link up the studies that Lori found down below, and I also reached out to AG1 to see if they can send me any more research on those specific strains. It seems like the probiotics might not be the most optimal intervention for gut health. The effectiveness seems questionable at best and potentially harmful for some populations. Okay, I just finished this cup of Athletic Greens, and I'm not gonna lie, I definitely feel a little bit more alert. It's subtle, it's not anything crazy, but I'm definitely feeling just a little bit more dialed in. Day number 2 of experiencing that's a consistent sort of sensation, and I bet for the next couple of days, if I keep doing this, then I will continue to feel it. Organic, pesticides, chemicals, is this something that we should be concerned about?
So I actually don't worry about organic or pesticides when it comes to this specific product, because what mainly I'm concerned about is heavy metals. When we dehydrate the leaves and the actual plant products in very concentrated amounts, that's when we get exposed to heavy metals. Think about the whole foods that you eat. Remember that those have fibers in them that bind and chelate the heavy metals naturally out of the system without your body being exposed to a toxin.
Did you contact AG1?
I did.
Okay, so you contacted AG1 about getting their certificates of analysis to see what the heavy metal load is or the mycotoxin profile, and they refused to share it with you?
Correct.
And there are other companies that will give you that information?
Mm-hmm. Other companies have been very transparent. Some companies even have it on their website. So the fact that AG1 is not willing to show that and just say, oh no, trust us, it's been tested, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and trust you because you said so, I don't think so.
To be fair, it's like the wider landscape. I think it's really easy to get zoomed in on something like the greens powder and all these kind of thing, right? Small doses of lots and lots of different things will end up causing someone an issue if they're from the wrong source. So if someone's getting it from their greens powder, they're probably getting it from their vegetables, they're probably getting it from their fruits, they're probably getting it from, not great quality meat, they're probably getting it from chemicals they're exposed to anyway daily. If we zoom out a little bit, I think it's part of a bigger problem.
This is where it gets interesting. I did, in fact, contact AG1 to see if they would send me a certificate of analysis, and I managed to get one. The COA did, in fact, show that it was within the reference range for heavy metals and mold. However, when we compare that certificate of analysis to another greens powder called Aura Organics, you can see that it had 8 times the levels of cadmium, 10 times the levels of arsenic, and 18 times the amount of lead, which makes sense why they had to put a Prop 65 label in the state of California on it. Just to put things in perspective for you, in order to get the equivalent amount of lead that you get in Athletic Greens, you would have to eat 34.1 pounds of grapes. So the amount of heavy metals that's in the greens powder compared to whole food is way higher.
I kept hearing all of these people that I really liked and trusted talk about it. Felt like it was everywhere on every major podcast that I listened to. I've always been on the supplement game. So it was definitely appealing to think that this was going to give me the opportunity to condense and to have just one thing that I take every day. But I felt really sick when I was taking it. I felt kind of lethargic and bloated and a little bit nauseous and uncomfortable. And so as soon as I stopped, the symptoms went away and I just literally never opened the bag after.
Jeff loves it. Bryn felt sick when she took it, and I felt pretty good. On one hand, the science supporting the claims that they're making is a bit of a reach. On the other hand, science is always really far behind what's on the cutting edge. So that doesn't mean that the product doesn't necessarily work. I think Jeff's perspective of listening to your body is an interesting one, but I think it's incomplete. There's too many other variables to account for, and you have to take placebo into consideration as well. And a counterpoint to that is when I met Brian Johnson, he told me that every time he listened to his body, it always threw off his biomarkers. Do you think that Athletic Greens is doing more harm than good? And would you recommend it to your clients, to your family, to your friends?
I would absolutely never recommend it to my family or friends. What they're doing is most likely more harmful than good to the best of our ability right now. Based off of the research, I would say it doesn't make sense.
I would say it depends. If I zoom this out a lot, the majority of the world are massively malnourished, don't take any kind of fruits or vegetables or any kind of anything in. So their nutrient status sucks. If they were taking something like this, is there a possibility that they would be maybe 1% even? Because 1% would still be a net benefit. Then yeah, maybe. Let's look at the people that are in the health and wellness industry. Is this thing going to be the game changer for them? No. From a faulty logic in the fitness and health industry, yeah, it probably does more harm than good. Because to believe that something like this is going to change everything.
When you think about whether or not what's in the product will help, it's questionable at best. I wouldn't want to spend that much money on something that is questionable at best, non-transparent, not organic. Some of the ingredients in there, like spirulina, chlorella, alfalfa, sometimes that's not great for people with medical conditions like autoimmune. There's nothing on their site that says, these people should not take it. It's like, oh, it's good for everybody. And anytime you hear like this blanket statement, like it's good for everybody, that's when you kind of want to say,
Well, I think the truth is that there's no one size fits all. And I think that's where a lot of like health and wellness products go wrong, is that they try to be this blanket for everyone. And I think people that have been in the health and wellness space a long time will tell you that everyone is so different and they have different bioavailability, and women's bodies are drastically different than men's. But I think when we try to make one product fit for everyone.
All the nutrition experts that I interviewed have their own biases, but so do the people that are promoting it, and so do I. So that leaves most consumers, and me, confused. So how are we supposed to know who to trust, what to trust, and how to make decisions when it comes to our health? So after doing all this extensive research, I've come to 4 conclusions that hopefully can help you make better decisions when it comes to your health. Number 1 is you need to learn how to read studies. I'll put a link below to a resource that you can use to start to understand what the jargon means and how to navigate these things. Number 2 is you need to do your own due diligence, not only on the company, but also the ingredients and where they're sourcing these things from. Number 3 is to look out for cognitive biases. We're all susceptible to these, and by nature of that, we need to learn how to think from first principles. Number 4 is we need to test on ourselves. And then we need to look at the data. After all this, I will not be continuing to drink Athletic Greens. Not because I think they're a bad product or a bad company or they're too expensive. It just doesn't make sense. I just think there's too many unknowns and the potential upside just doesn't outweigh the potential downside. So the question still remains, is Athletic Greens actually healthy? That's up for you to decide.